Welcome to episode 47 of Military Veterans Podcast, where we talk to veterans to learn about their stories and experiences. And today we're joined by Steve Enright. Hey,
Hi.
Hey, Steve.
All right, Gav. Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Thanks for asking me a question straight away. That's pretty good. How are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah?
Not too bad, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for popping over to my house to do a little bit of a recording for your time in the military.
No problem. You're about 19 minutes away from me, so it's a nice and easy journey.
It's pretty good. And this is the first time you've done something like this, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so hopefully we get a bit chilled out and we get into recording. It'd be like us chatting.
Yeah.
So it's all good. So Steve, before we get into like the main part of your episode, we've got the 4 questions as always. I'll ask them one at a time for yourself, and then we'll dive in. That sound right?
Yes, that's fine.
Fantastic. All right. So the first question is, when did you join the military?
So I joined the military when I was 16 down in Shorncliffe, in Folkestone.
So what was the month and year for that?
Oh, sorry, that was June 86.
June 86. All right, yeah. Cool. The second question is what service and branch? So you mentioned...
So I joined the Queen's Regiment.
Queen's Regiment, yeah, in the British Army.
Yeah.
Nice. The next one is how long did you serve for?
So I've done 12 years in total.
12 years,
yeah.
Nice. And then the last one is what rank did you get to?
Lance Corporal when I come out.
Lance Corporal.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I'm saying that a lot, aren't I? Cool. I'll chill out. I won't say it as much anymore. Brilliant. Well, let's rewind the clock. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
Okay, so I was born in Brighton.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Born in Brighton. Don't know nothing about Brighton other than the fact that I was born there. But then I lived in Portsmouth. And if I'd stayed in Portsmouth, I guarantee you I would have pretty much joined the Navy.
Right, yeah.
As much as you're laughing out there. But yeah, I probably would have joined the Navy. But through family issues and whatever, we moved up to Kent. And my upbringing wasn't particularly great. I had asthma when I was at school, to a point where I was in hospital for a week. And the GP basically turned around and said, I'm young enough and fit enough for the chest area to clear. So he suggested doing a lot of fitness. So I started doing fitness and I just thought to myself, do you know what? The more I do fitness, what better thing can you do than join the military? Because you're going to get a lot of fitness. So I did that, and my relationship between myself and my mother wasn't particularly great.
Okay.
So yeah, I decided to join the military.
All right. Well, before we go down that road, you mentioned about moving between the south coast and up to Kent. But how was like schooling? How was that part? Did you enjoy that any bit?
Well, if I just turn around and say I left school with an A grade, as it was then, in art, and that was it.
That was it.
I just did not like school.
Right. Okay.
I don't think it liked me. I didn't like it. But it was at the time, when you're talking 1985, it was just I didn't like school.
Right.
And I thought the only thing I did like was art, so I decided that's what I'll do.
Was you skilled at anything in particular in art, or
at the time, because it was CSE, wasn't it? So you had to come up with 3 different things. So I've done like a pottery, a painting, drawing, or a combination of a couple of those. So
have you done that in later life?
I'd continue to do it for quite a bit, but it's one of those things that if you don't keep it up, it's you
lose it.
You lose it. Yeah, basically you lose it.
Fair enough. And then you mentioned about like trying to stay fit to try and help with the asthma. Was there a particular element of fitness? Like, was it a sport or was it running, or what was you enjoying?
I think it was more cardio stuff. So there was a fair amount of running that I was doing, but it was I was doing press ups, pull ups, all those sorts of areas. Didn't really go into the gym aspect of things.
Okay. I
wasn't interested in putting on having great big muscles like Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like that. I wasn't interested in that. The running at the time, because I knew that if obviously you're going into the military, I was going to be doing a lot of running, so I concentrated more on that.
Nice. Okay. And then you mentioned about fitness, great, and why not join the military? Did you have any links to the military in your family?
I have got, or had, my great uncle was in the Boer War, and after the Boer War, and at the outbreak of the First World War, he was one of the first ones to go straight over to France. And the citation that I've got from him was the fact that he was in almost every major battle up to the 26th of October of 1914, when that was the last time he was heard from. So on the assumption that he was probably blown up because there was no body found. And he's in Aylesford and in France, they have 2 headstones, one in each place, and with his name on that, in both places. He's had like 7 bars. Yeah, it's a lovely citation, to be fair.
Right. So you heard about him?
Yeah, it was my cousin that actually sent it over to me.
Right.
And then obviously I know my granddad was in the catering corps.
Okay.
My dad was a lancer. He'd done 3 years. My granddad, I can't remember how many years he did. My son went into the Rangers for a little bit. So
you've had some military in the family.
Nice, which is nice.
And then with you wanting to then let's take that step forward into the military, did you know what you wanted to join? Was it going to be the army, or
it was definitely going to be the army? But the thing was, back then, when you go to the careers office and you say this is what I'd like to do, and obviously you sit down and do your tests. This is where I wish I'd studied more at school, because what I wanted to go into, one, I was too short. I wanted to go into Coldstream Guards.
Okay.
Ultimately, that's what I wanted, because I just saw that as, that is what I wanted to do at that time.
Was there anything in particular that made you think that?
I just think it's just, when you see things on TV, when you see the Grenadier Guards and all that at Buckingham Palace and all that sort of stuff, I thought, I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much. But as it was after my tests and all that, they said, you're going to go in the infantry. But the Queen's Regiment, County Regiment, West Kent, Surrey's, Buffs, all that together, which became in 1966 the Queen's Regiment. So that's the County Regiment. So ultimately, that's where I went.
Okay. Did you know much about that area before you went in?
No, to be fair. Bearing in mind I was sort of just 16, so it's, it wasn't, I just wanted to go in the military. I didn't care what it was.
Yeah.
At the time,
Yeah.
So
did they entice you to do it, or was it more about the? Did you do tests back then?
Yeah, you still had to do a test. Yeah,
when I joined,
mine was a written test.
Right.
And once I said you've got that, I had to go to Sutton Coldfield, which is where you had the interview. You had to do a fitness test.
Oh yeah, okay.
All those bits and pieces.
You found that all right with your training you did as a kid?
Yeah. I thought it gave me that edge. I'm pretty much an all rounder. I can turn my hands to most things, and I think on the fitness side of it, as when you're young, you're quite fit anyway, naturally, I think, So, yeah, I just went with it. Obviously, it was a while ago. But to come back with a nice certificate saying, congratulations, you've passed. Yeah, to go home feeling that chuffed.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I was the only one feeling that chuffed because, like I said, my home life wasn't particularly great. So I just wanted to get out of that situation and get on with my life. So. And
then what was your next step? I'm guessing that was basic training. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where did you do that?
I went down to Shorncliffe in Folkestone. So I went down as a junior soldier. So your junior leaders and junior soldiers that were down there. Junior soldier, that was something else. 6 months down there.
This is because of your age, is that right?
And for a junior soldier, because obviously you couldn't go into theatre unless you're 18. So being down there at sort of 16, I think it was about 16. Actually, that may have been my 17th birthday when I actually went in, it was my birthday during that time. So the 6 months while I was down there, we didn't have, not like today's standards, we had bed blocks, everything had to be done. The lockers had to be exactly how they wanted them to be. We just had green coveralls and what you used to call a crap hat. So a baseball cap. And that was it for 6 weeks. No, you couldn't. The only time you went to the naffy was to get boot polish or any cleaning equipment. You had no free time. We was having change parades. We was bumpering ceilings. We was having a kit chucked out the window because by leaving a locker undone. I mean, it was old school stuff, you know. We was getting side on where the instructor would come along and punch you. Yeah, oh yeah, they were coming in with thunder flashes at the time. Now, my God, you'd never get away with it.
No. 6 months there, it's a long time.
Yeah. But the first 6 weeks was just to sort of wheedle out those that couldn't hack it.
Okay.
But then after that, then you then started wearing proper uniform and started to do proper training.
Okay.
Which then, when you've done that 6 months, then you went to Bassingbourn. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Now, during that time of those 6 months, was there any moment that you thought, this is crap, this isn't for me, or was you strong-headed all the way through?
I'd like to think I was strong-headed all the way through.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. When you're going through training, there are hard times. There are hard times, and it could be anything. It could be the fact that you're out in the field, you know, wake up in the morning, or you're on stag, and when you're on stag 2 o'clock in the morning, you've been busy all day, and you try to stay awake. The easier it is to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then somebody would come up, you know, an instructor would come up and kick the weapon and all this sort of stuff while you're resting on it, trying to sleeping, or you're doing fitness or something. There would be something that would. I wouldn't say trip you up, but you start questioning, is this right for me? But then once you go through that, I suppose it's like a runner hitting the wall.
Okay.
Once you go through it, then you get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can see some people that would sort of drop away. So, yeah, it was, I wouldn't turn around and say it was easy, because never way,
easy.
because you don't know what you're expecting, do you? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And they're there to push you and make you a better person to do a job.
Yeah. Was there anything in particular you liked? So was there, like, I don't know, started shooting or something like that you were like, this is really cool?
Well, by the time I got to Bassingbourn Barracks, I wanted to go into music. So I joined the Corps of Drums. That's ultimately what I went into. So still the Queen's Regiment, but in the Corps of Drums. Because the Corps of Drums, they front the band, but they're also machine gunners. So you'd be SF. So that's the GPMG in a sustained fire role, to be able to sort of fire over hills and stuff like that. Burst of 20.
So sustained fire, that's what the SF, not Special Forces.
No,
Okay.
no, yeah, no.
Just for anybody
Let's
that
get that, yeah. Sustained fire. And at the time, I thought that, because I thought that, that'd be really good, the machine gun. But to do that, you had to learn music. So for 6 months, I was doing the basic training, and then I stayed for another 6 months to do the actual music side of it and learn more about the GPMG in a sustained fire role.
And that's why we went to Bassingbourn specifically for that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And then when I passed out the second time, I got best all round. So I was, I'd say, average at everything.
Okay.
So that was quite nice to get.
And how did you find the music? Because I'm guessing you haven't done that before.
No, I hadn't. No, you had to learn how to play. You had to learn how to play the bugle, and I was using the C flute at the time, which is more a fife.
It's more what?
It's what they call a fife.
A fife.
A fife.
Okay.
So it's a flute,
right?
Ultimately, but it doesn't have. It's not long silver one. It's it's black. A few keys on it, but it wasn't too bad. There was a couple on there you could learn to play without having to read the music. And I did find that quite difficult, to be fair, trying to read music.
Okay.
But
do you think you can still do it today?
No. I have got a fife at home though, and I can play Annie's song a little bit.
Okay. After that, where are you going next? Is it you put down a few preferences, or because you're part of that area, is it limited? I don't know. What that
I mean, because you're in a regiment, I didn't opt for whether it be 1st, 2nd or 3rd Battalion, the Queen's Regiment. It was basically told where I was going. So once we'd finished at depot, I was told I've got 3rd Battalion, the Queen's Regiment, and where they were based, which was in Howe Barracks in Canterbury. Oh, okay. Which is now a housing estate.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, okay. It's such a shame. So yeah, went there. And the guys that were already there, they were literally, I think, just coming back from Belize. So it's such a shame because I would love to have gone to Belize as my first posting. But so I ended up just going to Canterbury. And that sort of started. And then because you're new, obviously you're expected to do everything, from the smallest thing to the biggest thing. You are, you're not worthy of anything. And it's just a foundation, isn't it? You've done your foundation training to get you to that level. Now your job starts, once you hit battalion.
And when you got there,
yeah,
you mentioned about doing the smallest job or the largest job. Was something a bit of a eye-opener to real life?
Yeah, I suppose it was, because being in Canterbury, obviously you're not operational in that sense. You're at Canterbury, in Howe Barracks. And for me, some of the little jobs like your company runner, if you're a company runner, you are literally in the company, up at the company, and go and tell this person to do this, go and get this person, go and get that person, take this message to that. Obviously, we didn't have mobile phones like we do today. But yeah, that was quite weird, having to literally run from one place to another place as company runner. Yeah, that was quite out there.
But you're already fit, so you.
Well, yeah, but it just to me, I thought I'd be doing more. But it was just a normal everyday thing. Yeah, okay, you got up some days and you'd either be on guard or you'd be night guard. But as the days go past, you get to know how battalion works. You know how your company works. And you get to know what training you're doing as well. Yeah.
What was your first trip away with them lot?
Right. So my first trip away was to Aldergrove, which is outside Belfast, in Northern Ireland. It was in the barracks there in Aldergrove, which was that's a 2-year posting.
It's a 2-year posting.
Yeah.
Yep. And was there preparation before you went, or was it a case of go there?
Yeah, no, you'd go to. We went down to Lyd. You go down to Tin City. Basically, it's a made up buildings, and you'd have like another company that would be down there. They'd be acting as. They'd be in civvies. They'd be throwing things at you. You'd be all shielded up, and so it's a riot situation. But you'd also then do. You'd be patrolling round. Somebody would open up, and follow the rules of engagement. So obviously yellow card, white card, blue card. So we would have to follow those, and then it'd be debriefed afterwards. So you do a lot of that before you go over. Yeah.
Okay. And then who went over? It wasn't the battalion that went over, was it, for 2 years?
Yeah.
Or it was a whole lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So it'd be all the companies. You'd literally just up sticks and move.
Okay.
Everybody. But then when you're there, because it's a 2-year posting, you're not 100% on deployment in that sense. So you'd have a company on guard, you'd have a company on out-of-province training, you'd have a company on deployment anywhere within in the province. And we could be anywhere from Canoli, just pretty much anywhere really. Ballygawley, it's just loads of places within Northern Ireland that you could be sent to in support of the RUC, as they were then.
And I'm guessing as a youngster, you had not been away before out of the country. So I know it's still part of the country, I understand, but you had to get on some sort of ferry, right? You had to cross the water. So was that your first time away from mainland?
It was, yeah. It was my first proper time away. I'd never been on a plane. Family holidays were always like a caravan job back then. But it was, it was quite surprising when I got over there. Even after doing all the training, my first time of patrolling around out in what we called the cuds, so that's all the fields and stuff like that. Patrolling around, you're so vigilant. So vigilant because it's your first time. Other guys have been over and done 6-month tours, 3-month tours, that sort of thing. But it was my first time in Northern Ireland. So for me, I didn't know what to expect because all I'd done is seen stuff from TV, watching the news.
Right.
And that's what you perceive is going to happen. But when I got over there, the reality was completely different.
In what way? Like,
in the sense that obviously I'm walking around a small village and across fields and all this sort of stuff, and you're expecting someone to take a pot shot, bang, 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 every second. You know, you do hard targeting from the barracks out and back in again. But when you're out on patrol, the weapons in the shoulder. And I think if you was to just walk around like they did in Vietnam in some respects with them over your shoulder, you're expected, you'd expect to be shot at because they could look at you and go, that one's not professional, bang, you know. So I was more vigilant then and looking at everything because you're looking at culverts, you're looking at if there's something going under the road, and you check that. So yeah, in your head you're thinking, something's going to happen, but rarely did at that time.
I'm guessing you're like 18 at this point.
Yeah,
right?
18 and a half, something like that. Yeah.
And so, in that 2 years, is there a moment or a couple of moments that stood out? Maybe for the good, maybe for the bad. Anything you want to share from that 2 year moment?
Well, there was one. This is when we were in Aldergrove. We used to have naffy discos. We always used to have naffy discos. So we had one, and I met this girl, and my mate met her friend, and they'd come down. We disco, have a bit of fun and all that. And then we arranged to go round to her house. So me and Tom have gone round to her house. And this is how long it goes. I was laying on the sofa with her. Tom was with the other girl, was watching Top of the Pops.
All right.
So he was watching Top of the Pops. And we were just chatting away. And then I could hear this bang at the back door. And that bang was like a knock to start with, and then it got louder, and it was more like a kick. And I was just like, whoa, what's going on here? So me and Tom got up, and unfortunately for the girl at the time, she didn't have an indoor aerial. She had an outdoor aerial attached to the television, so it's a great big spiky thing. So I ripped that out, had that in my hand. I thought, if anyone comes through that door, they're going to cop it. And the door leading to the front door, it was more like it was one door like that, and then you got so it was a boxed area really. Mm-hmm. So we got into there. Tom's trying to open the door. I'm holding the door shut. The door got yanked open, and I just almost had somebody try to hit me over the head with a claw hammer. And he's come at me. So I've just natural instincts just to grab the wrist, shook it out, whacked him as hard as I could. And at the time I was doing company boxing, so I just let rip. Door then got open. There's somebody at the front door with a big fence post in his hands telling us to get back in the fucking house. Like, whoa! So I pushed Tom and said, just run, Tom. So he ran, managed to get away. I then went outside. The bloke hit me straight across the thigh. And then the other one from the house came out and came at me. So I just grabbed hold of him. And every time his mate was trying to hit me with a piece of wood, I was turning his mate in the way, so he was hitting him. And at the same time, I got my hands, my thumbs pushed into his eyes. And I'm really, really going for it. And then we're rolling around on the floor. He's still trying to hit me. And it just got to a point where he's going, kill the Brit bastards. I mean, this ain't going to happen. So I managed to get back up. I'm still grappling. Out the corner of my eye, I could see a slight hill and a fence, and I knew there was a road there, so I just dragged him up there while we were still punching. And then when I got to the fence, I just let go, and all I saw was just his shape, and just let rip with left and rights. And I just see him drop. So I managed to get through the fence and leg it up the road, and I could hear his piece of wood bouncing off the road where it was obviously thrown at me. I ran up and ran into a Catholic estate, and just saw these bushes and just dived into these bushes. And I remember because I had brand new clothes on as well, which were now knackered. I got a bit of mud, put it on my face. There was a small vodka bottle. So I just held that in my hand, and I could hear cars screeching and people walking towards me down this alleyway, and there was no way I was getting out. No way, because I didn't know these people from Adam. And there was somebody in a suit, but I didn't know who he was. So I just stayed down. I laid there for about an hour and a half, and my leg just went like a balloon.
Just swelled up.
It bruised the bone. That's how hard it hit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it bruised the thigh. So yeah, it's swollen right up. And after about an hour and a half, it was all quiet. So I just got out and then sort of limped down the road. Met a couple of people that I knew came to the Naffy Disco. So I went round to their house and called the RUC. And I didn't know at that time, but the two people involved went back to the house and set light to the house. But they'd managed to pick up, the police managed to pick up the others and went down and made a statement. They got arrested. I ended up going to court. I was in hospital for 2 weeks. But when I went to court, which was quite quick to be fair, I walked into court quite happily, hardly no bruising, no nothing. They did.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they were hoods. They're from the Ardoyne area, West Belfast. They didn't like the IRA, didn't like the loyalists. They didn't like the police, didn't like the military. So they were just thugs.
They just hated everybody.
Yeah, they would do armed robberies. They would burgle. They would do all that sort of stuff, for their own gain. But yeah, and they end up getting a 6 and 9 month suspended sentence, which they served.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably the most memorable, shall I say?
Yeah.
But we had some good jobs in Northern Ireland, some good finds, and
So that was, I guess, maybe a bit of a surprise because it was on your downtime, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely
to have to battle whilst you're on the downtime.
Yeah, I mean, you see it because at the time they used to have a lot of adverts about Northern Ireland, and they were quite hard adverts at the time. So when it comes to doing something in your own time, you're expecting to see an armalite come through the door, a weapon of sorts. That's what you expect to see because they talk to you about the honey trap, and the honey trap being where you go out and you'll get a girl will lead you to where you're going to be shot basically, but you don't know that. Might be I'll just go and make a coffee. You're sat on her sofa and then 2 people are coming and shoot you or take you away, and so those things can run through your head all the time, especially when you're still young. Yeah.
And then the fact that you experienced very close to that.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. It runs through your head, and it's fight or flight, without a doubt, 100% fight or flight. And I just made sure I just gave everything I possibly could.
Yeah.
And I think the lucky thing for me at the time, I was doing company boxing, so my fitness level and my boxing skills were
really good,
quite up there. Yeah,
nice. Is there anything else from that 2-year period? Maybe whilst you're in uniform, or
yeah, we had a couple of jobs. Can't remember exactly where. I know one of them was up Londonderry way, where one of our guys, we were out patrolling one evening, and he trod on a slab, a paving slab, and it just didn't feel right. As he lifted it up, there was what was called it was a prig, basically, which is it was a handheld device to take out a vehicle, and then a bit further along they found gloves, balaclava. So the intent was there, and obviously somebody was a bit spooked, so they just ditched it. So yeah, he got well done for that. And there was another time where we was out and found what looked like a part of a pipe bomb leaning between a tree. So set up a cordon, set up the place likely for us to sit and wait for all the help and all that. Unbeknown to us, the IRA thought that's where we would set it up. So about 25 yards in, they put some barrels in the ground with explosive in and put board over the top and then covered it over. Luckily for us, nobody went that far in. But again, yeah, it was discovered. So it was like, come on. So we found what we thought was a pipe bomb. But in reality, what they wanted us to do was to go in there and be blown up, But then we go to Middletown and Keady. I remember one time I was on in the guard room there, and we're doing what we used to call vengeful. So it would be putting in registration numbers of vehicles that were crossing. And then we got there was a contact come over the radio, and it was another border crossing point that the IRA had driven a great big sort of truck down there, one that you'd fill up with concrete, and sand and that sort of stuff. And they used an RPG on the Sanger. They were doing room clearance. That's how good these terrorists were. They would manage to get in and started to do room clearance. And I remember the chef telling me when I was in the cookhouse with him, he was actually trying to get a Scooby snack one night when this happened. So he's got his flip-flops on, a pair of boxer shorts. So he's gone in the kitchen. This is all kicking off. He's ended up having to jump in the freezer because it was just all kicking off. But yeah, I could hear all that all over the radio, and obviously you can't do anything. So you just listen.
Sounds like the 2 years were like peaks and troughs with
without a doubt,
things happening.
Without a doubt. I mean, there was
times.
Because you're on deployment for that month. So in that month, there may be nothing, and then you might go away on deployment again. And it just might be solid for 2 weeks. You just don't know. That's the thing. But the rest of the time, if you're on camp, or you're on annual leave, or out of province training. So.
Okay. After those 2 years, are you all moving back to Kent, or do you go somewhere else?
Well, just towards the end, you get to find out where you're going. So we was like, where are we going? We're going to Hong Kong. Woohoo!
Really?
Rubbing my hands together now. I'm like, yes, we're going to Hong Kong. I've never been to Hong Kong. But this is now, then you watch the news and Hong Kong is being handed back. Damn. So Sarah said to us, we're going to go Cyprus instead. Okay, well, Cyprus, still 2-year post in Cyprus. No problem.
So is that the is that the stepping stones for where you're based? So you'll do 2 years here, 2 years there. Is that kind of like the strategy?
It all depends, because when we went to Colchester, we was only there for roughly about a year.
Right. Or was that in between?
Yeah, it was sort of Northern Ireland, and then it was Cyprus, and then come back from Cyprus, sort of Northern Ireland, Colchester, back to Northern Ireland, that sort of thing.
Okay. So you're over to Cyprus, and that's 2 year.
Yeah, that was 2 years.
Again.
And we was up in Episkopi. I lived in Limassol at the time. It was all right. It wasn't too bad. It was obviously a different change of uniform.
I was going to ask, was that NATO, UN, or is that?
No, it was just us over there. We just,
change of uniform is.
Yeah, change of uniform in the sense of we didn't have the DPM in that. We had the brown and beige DPM.
I like the deserts.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah,
similar to that. Right.
They were very, very similar.
Okay.
And our best dress would be, it's more of a greyish type of shirt, sandy sort of colour. That was our best dress when we was there. So obviously a lot of exercises. Because places are very sandy and stuff like that. But then we'd be used, if there was a hill fire, we'd be used to go and tackle that. Some fun days over there, especially for an evening.
Yeah, and a different vibe to Northern Ireland? Or?
Oh, hugely.
Yeah,
hugely. I mean, just for us, when we was over there, the first Gulf War broke out. 1991. So our job there was to basically look at all the coastal areas around where we were. We didn't go as far as Paphos or Ayia Napa. We were sort of down Paphos end, but not as far as. So our job was literally just to go and basically patrol those sorts of certain areas. Still do things up in Troodos Mountains. That's where a friend of mine passed away. Unfortunately, ended up having what you call water on the lungs, water in his chest. Unfortunately, he passed away up there. Yeah.
And how did you find it being out there after spending 2 years in Northern Ireland? It's very different.
Although it was different, obviously you get a lot of tourists. You can imagine, because we're in Limassol. So we would be. you wouldn't really go out until about 11 o'clock at night because it didn't really kick off until sort of, anywhere between 10 and 11. So, yeah, we'd go out and used to have some fun. Just go to you get to know people, you get to know hotel owners and stuff like that. So we'd have a bit of fun, go to one hotel, and the swimming pool was shaped like a coffin.
Was it?
Yeah, it's very, very, very weird. But he would allow us to just go up and we'd jump off the first balcony and then go to the second balcony, jump off the second one. By the time you get to like that third, it's starting to hurt now and you're hitting the bottom quite hard. So, but you're trolleyed. You know what I mean? And then you'd be expected to be in Happy Valley the next morning at about 5 o'clock to go for a run, throwing your guts up. So, yeah,
right.
But all fun.
And you mentioned doing a lot of exercise. Are you just working with yourselves or are you working with other units? How's Cyprus back then?
Yeah, majority of it was sort of between ourselves, could be a company assault, beach landing, that sort of stuff, so that, yeah.
Okay. And just for timeline preferences, like what year is this roughly?
This is 90, 91.
Yeah, as you mentioned 91 was when first golf kicked off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes sense. And did you ever get involved with like the border aspect? Because
that comes under UN.
UN stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, no, we didn't. No, that wasn't us. No, we was just more, around Episkopi area.
Yeah.
That was our sort of our job, which was good.
Yeah, you enjoyed it then?
Yeah. Cyprus was brilliant. Yeah. Cyprus was brilliant.
That's great. How did you find the weather though?
Well, it was nice because obviously we started earlier in the morning, finished earlier in the afternoon. We didn't.
Oh, really? So
we didn't really get what they call a siesta. We didn't really have that, but it was just like started early because it's cooler in the morning, and then obviously it hots up throughout the day. So we just finish earlier.
Okay.
So yeah, just to combat that, really, I think.